Hello, everybody. We are back getting ready for our second match of day 2 for your EGL Summer Showdown. Once again, I'm Kangas. I'm your play-by-play, joined by Joshi as a color caster. And Joshi, I apologize deeply because I completely forgot. It was your birthday recently, and I was going to start the top of the show with this, but Twitch chat, happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, dear Joshi. Happy birthday to you. Wish him happy birthday in the chat below. Joshi, what'd you do for your birthday? Let the people know.
Man. What did I do? I actually went down and hung out with my dog, and we went on a hike together, which is one of the last times we'll get to do it because he's getting old. But it was a good day to just hang out and have fun with everybody. But it's not just about me. I know some people want to come here and listen to some League of Action, right, Kingus?
Yes, League of Action, the legendary game. We got Supernova versus Zeus Gaming coming up next year, so let's preface these teams before we're hopping into the games. Starting off with Supernova, they currently have 40 points in the LCS, Proving Grounds qualifier points total going into the qualifiers. They took third in their groups at Cup, third in their groups in Risen, and they actually were the winners of the Open qualifier coming into this tournament. So the top 8 from Risen auto-seeded in, but then we did have that Open qualifiers to figure out who the next 8 teams were, and hey, Supernova took it.
Yeah. And before we go too far looking at what they're going to be doing, we got to talk about what they're going to be doing today, because their support not going to be playing for them today, at least not for the first game. We are going to be starting off with Rovex, the mid laner for Columbia College, coming in to substitute in at support. And we've seen him play a couple of times previously. Unfortunately, from what I can tell, they've been losses thus far as he's been playing things alongside Senna. So we're going to see if that's going to continue the trend. Are they going to be throwing this mid laner to support to play things like the Gwen and Set like they've done previously? Or do they also have more things in the support pool that they can fall back on?
And a reminder for everybody, the reason the support pool is so important for this matchup, to pay attention to Rovex, he's a mid laner. He plays for College of Columbia, so current collegiate mid laner there. If you recognize the name, that's probably where you've heard it used before. But now in the support position, let's see what this does for Supernova, because they are up against a very tough opponent right now, Joshi. They got Zeus Gaming that they're staring down, currently the points leader. They're 40 points above the next team close to them in the standings, and we were expecting them to already have qualified to Proving Grounds, or at least I was, but then Cloud9 Amateur had their run through Risen. But this is still a team that everyone is expecting to be in that top 4, top 3, top 2, and make that auto qualification. So let's talk through Zeus Gaming. Why are they so scary?
Well, I feel like I undersold them a little bit yesterday when I was saying they're kind of in my other group of death, right? Because I feel like I kind of misremembered. They had gotten second in groups, but they've also had an opportunity to play against some very strong teams early on in playoffs, and so their performances, while not quite as high as I might have initially expected, make a lot more sense. But the big thing for me is that they are still very strong. They have a couple of previous CLG players in Tuesday and Griffin coming in for to fill out their roster from what we saw in spring, and they've been looking very strong now that, as you said, they aren't just entirely focused around their top lane, Alorum being one of the major carries for the team.
Exactly, and in the they made it to finals in Cup, and they brought Wildcard Red to a 4-game series. They only got one, so slightly worse than Cloud9 Amateur was actually able to achieve. But I'm happy that you talked about the roster in particular, because they do have the new mid laner and jungler from last spring. If you remember Zeus Gaming in the spring, they were a threat. They would show up and take games off of big teams. They were a good team, but they kind of fizzled out when it came to actual Proving Grounds. They finished in 9th through 12th place there. So I was hoping that they would push for more, especially as one of the top amateur representatives in a tournament mostly dominated by academy teams, other than, of course, no org. But now they look so good with Griffin and Tuesday coming in here. This is, like, if you thought Zeus was scary before, they're even scarier now.
Yeah, and Raheen and Rhino are also quite good. Rhino is one of the other top support prospects in the North American region, and for a region that has kind of been struggling to find new up-and-coming supports to take the places of people as they come in. These are guys that you're going to want to start paying attention to. Rhino has been particularly strong in his ability to help out the rest of the map, and one of the things that I feel like both Deption and Rhino that kind of sets them apart is for a lot of supports, it's very easy to just say like, oh, they're a big roamer, or oh, they just really like to dominate lane. They actually have a lot of flexibility, and they have been shown that they can play both alongside like the Senna, where they can get a little bit more gold, but they are also willing to play a variety of different styles.
Yeah, and I think across the board, you could almost say that for everybody. Maybe save Tuesday and Griffin. They're a little more standard in their play, but Alorm as well, known for his wide champion pool. He likes to play a lot of different things, even all the way back to the Urgot, which I know some other casters in the amateur scene have had different discussions about what works, what's meta with Urgot, the pick. But obviously, I mean, favorites coming into this one, but how heavy of favorites are they, Joshi? Is there a shot that Supernova is able to get anything? And if so, what is Supernova's win condition?
I feel like Supernova do have a little bit of a shot coming through. It all is going to depend on how good Strompist is going to be playing for Supernova.
Yes.
Because he is kind of the backbone of Supernova and has been for what feels like forever at this point. He's been on the team, he's seen their successes, he's also been there as they've fallen a little bit behind the curve, and if he can continue to play at the peak that we saw previously in a number of other seasons, they're going to be looking very strong, but he also has to contend with Tuesday, who has been a big dominant force in a lot of the series that we've been seeing Zeus play.
Let's see if Strompix can do it. He's the perennial Supernova player. He's been on this team off and on for 3 years now, I want to say, 3 to 4.
Long time.
Also had some time on FlyQuest Academy for 6 months, and also Team Fish Taco for 5 months, if everyone remembers that run. But now let's give Zoo's side. If we're thinking Strompist is the primary condition here for Supernova, what's Zoo's gaming strategy going into this one from your perspective, and how are they going to win out this series?
The big thing that I'm going to have to expect them to do is look to attack the bottom lane. If you know that they're coming in with a substitute in the support position, who is not even a support player, suddenly the synergy is going to be looking a little bit different. Their ability to play things outside of the Senna might also be a little bit different. I feel like it's relatively easy to ban that away from Supernova and then try and figure out how you're going to be adapting from there. Lynx can play a number of other things, but we just don't know if Rovex can play like the engaged supports or the enchanters or do anything other than, play like a slightly weaker version of the champions he would normally play mid lane.
And we see a lot of engaged supports being in the meta right now. So if you're not able to play that, it's going to be tough for your team. I'm happy you brought up Lynx, though. Again, another one of the Western University players that we have here in this tournament. Seems like this university is just breeding talent for us here in amateurs. So keep it going. Keep it going collegiate. You're giving us some good players right now. But it sounds like we're ready for draft. So before we get too far into this one, Joshi, who's going to take it? 2-0, 2-1, which direction?
I feel like it has to be Zeus, and the question is only going to be how dominant they're going to be, like you said. I want to say it's probably going to be a 2-0 in Zeus' favor, but I think there's an outside chance that Supernova gets one.
All right. Well, it's a soft prediction. I didn't even
All
get
right,
a full
okay, I'll
answer
commit.
from you there.
2-0 Zeus. Let's go.
All right, there we go. You got to commit, Joshi. You got to come in with the hot takes. And speaking of which, I'm not going to have that hot of a take. I'm saying 2-0 as well. I think Zoo's got this one in the bag. I think that they are going to be one of the teams to auto-qualify because, again, Cloud9 Amateur already auto-qualified. Wildcard Red already auto-qualified. Even if they're in the finals, they're not going to be able to take those last spots. But let's catch up, everybody, for what's happening Pick and Ban. You're right. The Toilet Paper Cats did ban away the Senna. Let's see what Supernova does with the rest of their draft, as they will not have Viego or Aurelia to choose, and Supernova take away Gwen and Thresh.
My favorite part of the Champions League so far is the fact that Rhino's name is so long that it has a like, ... right? You know how like in math where you have like 666
repeating.
It just keeps going there. Rhino's name doesn't end. It is just an endless Rhino for the entire rest of the broadcast. But we do have to pay attention because it feels like they might actually be picking in draft order rather than in position order, right? Because Diana is not something that you'd see top lane, and I'm going to go out on a limb and say that they're not planning to play Seraphine top lane. I've seen this happen before. It does not work.
So a reminder for everybody, the teams have the option to use Pro Draft ahead of time. These teams did opt for Pro Draft, but hey, it looks like they're still drafting in the order they did in Pro Draft. just for us, just for the broadcast. So we actually do get to analyze the picks going back and forth.
Yeah.
So that's kind of cool to see right here.
Yeah.
So, the Diana first pick makes a lot of sense. The Seraphine showing this early, it pairs very well with the Olaf, but you're kind of showing your cards a little bit with it.
Yeah, it's the kind of thing that you tend to do when you are really focused on making sure that you have a style that your team can actually play, right? Seraphine used to be really, really dominant, and hasn't been as much recently. But the Seraphine, now that we also see the Braum, I can see you kind of going, because it means that the Seraphine definitely not going to be in the support position from here.
Not in the support. You can play mid, you can play bot. So
True.
I'm expecting it to go into one of those roles, obviously, but I'm more confused about Zeus, and I'm no longer fully convinced that this is actually in the pro draft order, because if you're picking the Aphelios without locking in your support, your Thresh is already gone. So yeah, the Lulu ban is obvious here for Supernova. They can just take away another support now. We are getting word from production that this is in the order, so interesting choice from Zeus right there.
Yeah. All right.
Karma ban too, yeah, that makes sense.
Makes sense. As you say, you got to make sure that Aphelios has something that can protect it. It is kind of like that Kog'Maw in a lot of ways. I'm sorry, I just have to tell this real quick. I did Twitch Rivals recently over in EU, and we actually saw a Seraphine top played a couple of different times by Ross Boomsock's team during all of this thing. It was a very odd day because they were playing Malzahar top and Seraphine top, and it was one of those situations where it's just eventually you just don't have enough streamers to actually follow all the different roles, but just an odd thing that you end up kind of seeing. And I feel like the Seraphine, when you can put it somebody else on top, is going to have a little bit more success, especially when you pair it with something like this Karthus and the Olaf, where you can just really power up and make really dangerous.
All right, no, subtle flex there, Joshi. Yes, thanks for the reminder that I've yet to be invited for Twitch Rivals, but one day.
LCS, calm down.
One day, I'll get in there. Karthus is the pick, though, for Supernova, so that's going to be not a jungler. Could still be a jungler if they put that Olaf into the top lane. Olaf top, we have seen, especially if you watch LEC, for the next top laner, Adam does like to pull that one out, so still a little bit of ambiguity in Supernova's draft, but this is very unique from them. I mean, 2 supports and the Karthus plus the Olaf. I mean, it's kind of tough to tell what this team is trying to do. Are they trying to play aggressive early around this Olaf with double support? They're trying to scale with the Karthus. Kind of pulling them in 2 different directions as we're getting potentially a reset on the pick and ban. We'll keep you updated on what that is. And we are having confirmation that there was a reset. So maybe that Karthus pick wasn't actually meant to be locked in. We'll give updates once we have them.
Yeah, definitely an interesting situation to come through, right? Both Seraphine and Olaf aren't the most popular meta picks at the moment. You can definitely still play both of them, but they don't tend to be your first and second pick. And Supernova, I feel like they're having to call some pretty big audibles right now. Just saying hey, we were originally planning to play like this, but now that we have Rovex coming in, we're not going to have the same typical playbook that we would normally play with. Whereas on the side of Zeus, they're just just big, strong champions. Call it a day. We're going to be giving Griffin Diana, just let him run people over, and maybe we'll even play a Yasuo.
Pick a Aphelios solution. Blue 2-3, because why not? I'm still not the biggest fan. I want that to be known. You could have locked in Lulu there with the Aphelios, and I would have been happier with it. But it sounds like we will be getting back into the draft here shortly. The double marksman still coming in from Zeus. I do still like that it's strong, plus the Diana. So Diana can go in and start the fight, and then you got range to back it up. So we already get an idea of what the comp's going to do, but my concern is that the Aphelios can struggle in lane. But okay, looks like we're getting a look into the future here, Joshi, because we're back into pick and ban, but they are drafting in correct order this time.
Gotcha, yeah. They're just picking their own champions from here. So the Azir is what I'm guessing the Karthus was supposed to be. I don't think that was what they were supposed to be picking, and that would make more sense, right? It is the strongest character. It is what you have seen him on for years and years at this point. Very, very comfortable on this, and it is a very interesting composition that Supernova have built for themselves, right? Because you have a very strong backline already in the Azir and Seraphine, but you don't necessarily have the same kind of aggressive front line.
Joshi, we get a Bard!
Bard!
That's the support paired with the Aphelios. I love this pick. This is my personal comfort pick, my pocket pick here. I don't know if I can call myself a Bard main. I haven't played him as much this season. But We'll see. Jury's out on if it'll work with the Aphelios pick here. They're against a pretty passive lane. I don't see the Seraphine plus Braum really having a lot of kill pressure on this lane, so you still will be able to farm just fine as the Aphelios, and then Bard can actually get out of lane, cause some havoc right now.
Yeah.
But we do see the comp from Supernova. If they can scale, they are kind of scary here. That is 0 plus Seraphine combo, and then they can just play through top lane early on.
Yeah. They have a lot of range and a lot of sustain to actually play with during a lot of these sieges and like Baron and Dragon dances. So Supernova have a very clear pivot that they want to make. They start by playing around Olaf, and if that doesn't work, well, then you're suddenly playing around Strompus, something that Supernova is very familiar with because they've been doing it for literal years at this point.
Pretty much. It's been a while. They're very comfortable with that mid laner. On the side of Zeus, kind of a double marksman plus even the Urgot for a little bit more just semi-range AD damage. It'll really come down to Diana. And I guess Bard provides a little bit of AP as well, but
and engage.
they're kind of engaged, but they are indexing heavily into that AD department. So let's see if it works out for them here. And what's going to happen? Supernova versus Zeus Gaming after that draft. I mean, it's a new patch, new strategies, new meta. We'll see who is able to come out on top. We're sending it to a short break while we have time to load into Summoner's Rift and bring you all the League of Legends action, the League of Action that you deserve today, right after this. And hello, welcome back everyone as we're loaded onto the beautiful, the serene, I never noticed that was actually a waterfall going into a little not wild rift, rift, just Summoner's Rift. There we go.
True.
We botched the intro already, so let's talk about the teams. We got Supernova going up against Zeus Gaming here. Very interesting drafts that they gave us, Joshi. So let's talk about them. The big thing, Alorm got his Urgot.
He did, and we might see that get turned on its head a little bit. You're seeing a lot of people running up towards the top lane. All 5 members of Supernova are here. They're going to be the ones looking to be a bit cheesy, considering they are still playing with a substitute. But the thing I do want to touch on is the fact that, oh, Cozy just messing with Alorm a little bit. This is a very, very tough matchup for Jace to actually play. You end up getting stat checked really, really heavily, and Alorm, you might expect him to start with the E at level 1 just so he can get in on top of the Jace, get a health advantage from there, and look to bully Cozy effectively afterwards. It is a very tough spot for Cozy to actually both play at enough range to not get engaged on Urgot while also putting damage down, and because you're playing Jace versus a stat ball, you need to have a health advantage.
And it also helps to get an early lead, which is, I think, why they went for that play topside. You have the Braum, so look for it, might as well. If you can get Jace an early kill, or at least get a kill onto Alorm, that'll help speed you up. And Supernova, they do have a comp that can scale. They do have the Azir plus the Seraphine and the Braum bot side, but if they're going to play through the early game, it will be through this Jace and the Olaf on the top half of the map. Meanwhile, Zeus Gaming, I kind of identify multiple lanes that they can play through early.
Oh, yeah, you can play through a lot of these different places. Seraphine Braum, because Seraphine's not such a great auto attacker, it's hard to get a lot of pressure off of Braum's passive, and some of his early game strength kind of disappears with the Seraphine on your team. So it's a very tough spot for all of Supernova to find some of these early advantages, and they're very reliant on their scaling, kind of without the Jace. So it's an interesting spot. I'm curious where the Jace was actually picked in the draft.
Yeah, I wish we could have seen that as it was finishing out, if that was the red 4 or the red 5. But regardless, it's picked.
Nice.
It's on the red side here.
I don't know. I love this ward. This is actually the exact ward that I did part of my presentation on, right? 2 minutes, Lucian is able to push out the wave, spend the time to go drop this ward. You got to see Olaf finishing up the Raptors. You know how much CS he has. You know he's cleared the full bottom side of the map and is now clearing towards top. So Alorm knows he has to play a little bit further back, and the jungle Griffin is able to really play with basically full information on what Maddie's clear has been like thus far. So I really like this early ward and the play that Tuesday was able to do in order to get it down.
And Joshi, I just want to give everybody an update right now. We're getting some words on the other games going on in the tournament, and I was thinking of waiting, but I want to update because this is making me excited.
Whoa.
100 Thieves Next got the 2-1 over MU, and TSM Amateur got the 2-1 over Resolve.
Wow.
Big swings happening elsewhere in the group, so that's crazy. Wish we'll catch up on how those games played out later, but we still got to focus on this one. But yeah, big swings, big implications now for the tournament. But currently, we see Maddie go for an invade on the top side, drop a ward down, and then he'll go for a back.
All right, good trade coming out from Cozy. This is an important way to actually be able to play the Jace matchup, but you're noticing he's used up almost all of his mana, whereas Alorm still has a lot of potions to chug through, and this is part of why it's so difficult. Alorm can just chug through this corrupting potion, and you're seeing just by throwing out those Qs, he's whittling down Cozy really effectively, so it becomes very difficult. Again, it's not easier, even though Cozy's got a couple of good trades so far. So with that said, we're starting to see Maddie finding an opportunity, but Bard is so good, man.
But he does get Flash out of Raheen. So just a reminder, Raheen is currently on the account as good.
Careful now.
I was finishing that one. I was like, all right, I think we can save it. But that is, of course, Raheen as their AD carry. And then on the other side, Dopey Dinks is Link. So at least that one rhymes. And then Rovex playing on Andrew Foreman, the account named that. So if we call them by different names on what's on screen, now you know. Currently on the bottom side, though, we do see even lane state, even mid, even top. Not a lot of action happening early on here, but I gotta say that this is favoring some lanes more than others. The Azir pretty happy that you're not getting bullied early by this Lucian.
Yeah, it is something that Strumpus has shown a lot of prowess on over the years, right? It is by far his most played ever since the champion came out, and it is nice that he isn't giving over a whole lot of pressure over to Tuesday. He got the ward down early, but hasn't been able to roam more effectively. The junglers are pretty even. Maddie dancing, waiting here for his Krugs.
Olaf so fast on this clear that he literally has to wait for them to respawn after going for that full clear. But because he's topside, I like this. My Dreams Academy here on the side of Zeus, aka Griffin, picking up an early dragon.
Yeah. And you are seeing Maddie, because he is so fast, it is kind of difficult for him to try and clear as effectively. And with the ward that we previously saw on his Gromp, Zeus had a really good idea on what it is that Maddie could currently be up to based on knowing, how respawn timers work, where it can possibly be, and it is going to be a good position for Zeus currently. They have a small gold lead across the board and have already picked up the first Ocean Dragon.
Objectives over to the side of Zeus. So just a reminder, yeah, there is an Ocean Dragon there that will be showing shortly to reflect that dragon picked up by Zeus. Now Maddie over the wall. Oh, he sees Rhino here, but I don't think he realized that Griffin is as well. Flashes away because Raheen was even walking up. Maddie, he will still have the inside track of this Scuttle, though. Rhino's chasing him down. This Bard's doing some damage. He even throws down the Ignite, but Maddie smites, runs away. Can Zeus follow up? They're chasing forward. Flash from Tuesday plus the culling. First blood to Griffin.
All right, I was a little bit surprised they were able to go for that, but Maddie on this Olaf work. Ooh, oh, God, Alorn, so good. What a great usage and understanding of the interaction. Like, Jace has a lot of weird interactions with his golf swing, right? You just knock people back, and sometimes it can pull them out of dashes, sometimes it effectively doesn't. So, Alorm understanding the matchup well and trying to get on top of Cozy does a decent job at nullifying some of the natural advantages Jace will have in some of these lanes. But now Griffin and Rhino, hey, look at that. Bard just piecing out again.
I love the Bard pick, man. It's so fun. He also went for the good guy Bard. Guardian plus, I would assume, W max. Although you still can go Q max with this build. But yeah, Maddie, looking at the replay, he has to flash and still dies.
That's the thing. Even though he flashes, he doesn't concede this crab because he knows that he can have Strumpus move quickly, but unfortunately Strumpus doesn't move into a position where he can actually protect Maddie. He just protects a flank, and because they go different directions, not actually able to create space, can't use the Emperor's Divide, and that little bit of miscommunication ends up resulting in his death.
Oh, Alorm's just going for the 1v1. He gets it!
Yep.
Easy enough against Cozy. Woo! This Urgot is scary.
Okay, Maddie's here. This is an opportunity. Maddie should be able to find this if he can get on top of Alorm.
He's got the Ragnarok. When's he going to pop it? He doesn't even do it. He backs away.
Wow. Okay. Well, we'll see how effective it'll end up being. I do want to point out to a couple people that if you buy QSS, you can get out of the execute coming in from Alorm. Just a small thing, because it does count as a suppression. You aren't stuck. But also, Olaf's ultimate will just prevent you from getting pulled in because you are uncrowd controllable. You cannot get pulled in, and so Maddie will have an opportunity to go for some of these fights a little bit later. But the fact that Olaf is already behind both in farm and in kills at this point, and now he has to be really careful even just going for his own red buff. Look at how cautious he is. It's going to mean this Olaf is kind of past his prime already, and it makes the Seraphine pick a little bit less useful.
And he's also getting tracked. We see, thank you, observers highlighting the two wards that are in the top jungle right now, spotting where Maddie is currently. And they even see where he goes next. So that means Zeus are free to make the play bot side. They're not quite going to get onto Dopey Dinks. Oh, flash from Rhino. He wanted it. Gets flash out of Lynx as well. But now Maddie's still on the top side. Cozy Shroud so low on health. She's going to help push this wave in. But Cozy Shroud, he's pretty much one fear beyond death away from dying.
True. But Alorm doesn't have the ultimate just quite yet, so he's got to make sure he gives over this play. And I do like this play coming up from Maddie, just to make sure that they get the play and that Cozy is not at any risk of dying. So the game ends up chilling out at about 1,000 gold lead right now, and we got to pay attention to who's actually going to be getting benefits from this. And Well, zoos are looking good, but as I take a look at the inventory, something very interesting is happening. As we see
Raheen bot side, he's about to get the Braum stacks up, but he survives long enough,
the ult.
flashes away.
Nice.
Bardold, oh, catches Lynx. He had already used the flash. Grab jump coming out here. The damage falls up as Tuesday roams down, and it is Raheen that gets the kill.
Let's go, Rhino. That was so clean. We'll take a look at it again here pretty soon. But a couple interesting things are happening right now. I want to point your attention to Tuesday's inventory. He already has a Last Whisper, and he's stacking up a tier. This is not the typical build you see on an evolution.
Graviton from Raheen. Maddie's here. Tuesday, he looked for it. I don't think that Raheen actually used the Graviton to stun Andrew Foreman, a.k.a. the man himself, Rovex, but regardless, no kills happening bot side. But yeah, the build on Tuesday, interesting. We haven't seen this before, at least I haven't.
I haven't either, but we'll talk about it in a sec because we still got to talk about this bottom lane fight. Remember, Lynx had to flash earlier, isn't able to get out, and the thing about Bard, if you are within one screen and you throw out the ultimate, you are guaranteed to force a flash or it will hit. And then Rhino was able to get around at the same time and trap the Seraphine so that they had nowhere to go, and no flash, no ways to get out, just dead. So Rhino really showing off how to play this Bard during this series, and this is a good start. He already has the super speed boot, so he can start roaming around here in just a moment too.
Bard has not been played very much in the meta at all lately, and I'm kind of confused why. I think he's a very strong pick and very versatile as well. You can go for kind of a lane bully build, or you can go for this one that he's got right now, where it's just utility. You provide shielding, you provide healing, and you also get these Swifties early on, so you can just get around so fast. Bard roaming is incredibly fast, but it's not the Bard roaming, it's the jungler. My Dream Academy, a.k.a. Griffin, up here on the top side onto Cozy. Yeah. Doesn't have flash, so that's just going to be easy pickup. And now a teleport in from Strompest. He's in trouble here. Has to immediately Emperor's Divide Allure forward. Flash past him to get to safety. Maddie flashes as well. Ragnarok pop. He's going to chase down Allure. The damage from the Azir is enough. Rhino tries his best to use his ultimate to save his top laner, but not going to find it. Now going to get Maddie under the turret. He's taking a lot of damage. Tuesday, oh, the Culling was on cooldown. It's just coming off right now. It's back up, but he didn't have it in time to kill Maddie.
Good play overall for Maddie to actually find that kill. And I have to praise Rhino for trying to use the ultimate to keep Alorm alive, but it will raise ult in the little bit of difference. Something that we were looking at in the previous game was you get the kills and then what? Who is getting more after the fight is over? And now it's Zeus who are actually going to be the ones who are going to be finding the advantage. They trade 1-for-1, but they also get the plates. They drop the Rift Herald, and they're going to be able to turn this one kill, this trade of kills, into an entire turret that's going to be going over, ballooning to a 2,000 gold lead almost instantly.
That is a 3,000 gold lead right there, Josh. I'll have you redo your math. Yeah, big leads for Zeus right now. They're up a turret. They're up 3 kills. The Dragons were evened out as Supernova were able to pick up one earlier there. And it will now be the Infernal Soul on the map. So let's see what happens with the Dragon Control later on. But first, get a replay of this play top.
We already see them coming up, and it's pretty difficult for Cozy to do much of anything. He just kind of gets run down, and you notice that they don't even have to use the ultimate here. And I was worried when I saw this teleport coming through for Strompest, right? Because Alorm still has the ultimate, but Strompest plays quickly. He gets the flash back to the turret so he can dodge the ultimate, and unfortunately, you know, you just get run down. You look at Urgaz's big stats ball. Well, Maddie's also a stats ball, and he is still a little larger for now. But because you get a 3v1 afterwards based on the remaining health on the Olaf, you're able to push down the turret. So congratulations to Zeus on picking up that first turret. I'm still trying to think about the Last Whisper, Kangas, that Tuesday has in his inventory, because typically when you see this, it's building into, I believe it's the Cyrilda's Grudge, right? As, you know, a very quick transition, so you get the slow on the ultimate and just can, you know, gun people down really quickly. But he's also transitioning from that into, you know, either a Gale Force or a Kraken Slayer, and so it feels oddly inconsistent, and I don't understand the stop.
Feels maybe like it's just a mathematics equation.
Yeah.
Thinks that it's worth it right away as we see.
Okay.
Oh, Bardold hits 2. He can follow up with a double stun. Flash from Lynx keeps him alive. Same cannot be said for Rovex. Oh, he's still surviving through that though. Took a lot to kill Braum, but they did get him. And multiple members still alive. The ultimate comes out here. Fear Beyond Death onto Maddie, but he's got Ragnarok Tuesday in trouble. Cozy got on top of him with the flanking Jace. He will sacrifice his life for this. He might take down Rhino first though. Rhino. Oh! The Cosmic Binding picks up the kill. And now Supernova with 3 members. They're in trouble here. Rhino, what a play right there. 1-0-3 on the Bard. Impressive stuff here. And Zeus overall, they are playing very confident and very aggressive.
This is really cool to watch them actually continue to play. It's a little bit interesting watching both Lynx and Rovex in the bottom lane for Supernova have an opportunity to play because they are currently being preyed upon. But Seraphine provides so much sustain and so much survivability to everybody else on the team that they are able to take these fights a little bit longer than Zeus would like. We'll take another look at it here because it starts off where it kind of just looks like people are going to be backing away. They use a bunch of ults back and forth, but eventually they do get the catch. And we were looking at this as Rovex likely going to go down, but he stays alive for so long and ends up dying, I believe, to the red buff of Griffin. They also almost get Maddie, but they can't quite find the last bit of damage to put it underneath the threshold. And so, because the fight ended up going on so long, they ended up being okay. It was so close between Cozy and Rhino as to who was going to get that kill, so it was very nearly an even trade.
Very nearly, but still in favor of Zeus. They're getting closer and closer to that 4K gold lead, and now they're picking up their second dragon of the game here in the Infernal, while also pushing the bot side. So Tuesday getting more gold on his own, XP as well, and neutral buffs for the team. Meanwhile, Supernova, they have multiple members on the top half of the map, so they're trying to play on the opposite side, but that Rift Herald's not up, so they don't even get much for this other than a pushed wave. Rhino here with the ultimate. Oh, beautifully set up by Rhino. Oh, Cozy. Yep, I feel you. I feel it, man. But also, that's Bard.
That's Bard. That's what it's like playing the Urgot versus Jace matchup. Is, you know, once you start falling behind, it starts to get worse and worse. That is a very nice dead turret. I was wondering if we were going to see a teleport there, and then there was nothing to teleport to. But we do have a big advantage here.
Oh, Rhino went too far forward, though. He is in trouble here. Strampus could go for it, but now Strampus baited into this as Alorum is nearby, but doesn't have Fear Beyond Death. Will have to flash a wall. Maddie, do you follow? He doesn't want it. He had Ragnarok plus Flash. I think he actually could have, but he didn't have vision of enough members of Zeus. But even as I say that, he did. They were mid. They were bot side.
You see everyone. And it does mean that multiple turrets go down for Supernova. They're just not playing as coordinated as Zeus is across the map. You saw the mid lane outer, the bottom lane inner go down during that entire thing. And once again, Zeus is getting the +1. You know, you got to make sure you do the same thing at a wedding, right? You get the kill, and then you get somebody else to, you know, find something at the same time. They find the turret, they find the turret, they find the kill. They always change back into each other.
And the roughest part here, as we do see Strampus finally take the top turret, is the fact that Supernova had 5 members on the top half of the map. They had people around there as Rhino hits the Bard ultimate and is able to set up the kill onto Cozy. So Zeus were able to kill them, kill Cozy, essentially in a 2v5 on that half of the map. But finally, they do get that top turret for the investment, and now Zeus actually getting the Rift Herald here. So they Supernova heavily on the back foot right now. They're struggling with the rotational plays.
Yeah, Zeus is spending their time way more effectively on the map than Supernova is thus far, and I'm curious as to whether or not it is going to change eventually, right? Because you do have some really long range to play with. You have Jace, Azir, Seraphine, who can all hit you from a lot farther than most of the members of Zeus, but you also just have direct engage tools for Zeus. Zeus are the team that are very happy to just play in your face with the Urgot, with the Diana, and even kind of with the Bard, right? You are happy to just get inside of them.
Rhino sets it up. I actually thought he was going to go to try and ult the turret because now Strampus can outplay this. The flash and Emperor's Divide. Tuesday takes a lot of damage too. Rhino, you could have gone for the ult onto the turret instead of the ult onto Azir, but he does give over a kill.
I mean, I'm just impressed with Strumpist, right? Just the heads up,
Yeah.
just flash instantly, and now they might be finding a catch onto Zeus.
Ooh, Rovex tries to go for the engage with the Braum ultimate. Now he's walking forward. What a shield. They can't get any damage through. Zeus in trouble, but on the back line, Griffin with the Diana. Tuesday takes a lot of damage, so now Cozy's rejoined in. Strumpus free firing as his ear, picks up a double kill. Watch out for Griffin over the wall. He takes out Strumpus, chasing onto Rovex. He kills him as well. Double to Griffin as Cozy gets the shutdown. What a swinging team fight, though.
Crazy. You got to see both of the teams have an opportunity to show what advantages their team has. If you can't get to Strumpus, he is going to shred your team on his own. But if you can, you're just going to kill him. They hop over the wall. We get to see a Seraphino that doesn't do quite as much. And now, hey, Kangas, we got a minute and 15 left before the next team fight happens. We got a Dragon coming up very soon. So people are going to start having to get their recalls in now to do anything. But we'll pay attention to his fight and, you know, ignore the fact that Strumpist did miss that. We've been praising him for his Azir quite a bit. But, you know, this is all the way back when Rhino and Tuesday went for
Bard
this dive.
can portal and then ult the turret and then go for the dive. But watch, he's tanking turret.
True. Just right off the bat, that's a lot of damage, and it's already warmed up, right? Each consecutive turret shot does more damage than the last. So because they were able to do that, because that didn't go as well, suddenly you have these different flanks that you can actually attack from, and it forces an early teleport out from Urgot to just save this play. And so you see a couple different things. The choke comes through, Seraphine doesn't quite get the angle, and Dinah gets into the backline, so you instantly get a couple of kills. Unfortunately from there, there's nothing left to hit Strumpist with, and he's able to just free hit the entire time until Griffin comes back into the fight. He waits for his cooldowns to be back, he comes over the wall, and he's able to find another kill. So you get to see the engage from Diana being valuable, you also get to see the range of the Azir being valuable, and it's going to depend very heavily who was able to actually affect their team fight first.
I like the little interaction too, topside. It looks like the Rift Herald was dropped here from Zeus, but it goes onto the Azir turret, so he actually stalls that one out. Never seen that interaction before, but Strumpus says the Azir is the big threat here from Supernova, but since he's topside, this is dragging over to Zeus. This puts him onto Soul Point as they are chasing down that Infernal Soul. 5 more minutes before they can go for that objective.
No way.
Supernova, they're around the pair. Yeah, you're not taking this.
Yeah, no way. I don't believe you. They're going to be backing away. It looked kind of like Maddie was like, should I hit these wards? Should I give Lynx the 2 gold? You know, 1 gold for each of these zombie wards that are just chilling around. Ultimately, it doesn't matter. They give up the Infernal Dragon without a fight, and the 7,000 gold lead that Zeus has built for themselves is compounded by the double Infernal Drake, which give you just a percentage of your AD and AP across the team. So as Zeus continue to buy items, these Infernal Dragons will be worth more and more as the game goes on.
Looks like we have a disconnect in the game. We'll see if that affects. Oftentimes with the delay that we have, we don't even experience those slight pauses there. But I want to point out some of the itemization breakpoints right now, since Cozy Shroud, despite having a rough early game against Alorm, and Alorm being 3-1, currently has actually hit a very big Jace power spike. You look at that tier all stacking up right now to that Muramana. This is the point of the game where the Jace really starts to put out some pressure, and they're putting him against Tuesday. I like this lane assignment a lot more.
I do. You really want this Jace to be in a spot where you can actually feel comfortable jumping on top of somebody. The issue that we're going to be seeing soon, though, is Tuesday will soon have the Cyrilda's Grudge completed, and once Tuesday starts being ahead in a fight, it becomes very difficult for Cozy's Jace to run away because the slow that Cyrilda's will actually provide. And so, Jace is on a power spike right now, but they're looking to punish him. Good old.
Doesn't matter if you have a power spike. If you're just going to die for it, he flashes away. He has a stopwatch as well, but the flash should get him to safety. Just Summoner Spell burned, and that's multiple members now from Zeus very far forward. They don't have the Bard portal either, so Maddie, Strumpus, they're here trying to collapse onto them. What a cosmic binding there from Rhino. Stopping Maddie from coming in.
Rovex.
And now Maddie, Rovex is all alone. Oh no, he spotted out.
No flash.
There's 3 members of Zeus right on top of the Braum, and he cannot get out of there. Oh, disaster for Supernova. If they continue diving bot side, maybe they could have grouped up and saved him, but Rovex gets caught.
Makes you wonder, if he had just waited in the bush, and do you think Zeus would have found him?
Yeah,
I think they probably would have, but you know, there's an outside chance that they just don't check the bush, and now because they have a man advantage, Zoos once again are getting the +1. They're getting most of this turret down. It's not quite gone yet, but it makes it so much easier next time to just show up, and Tuesday almost done with his Murmon.
Oh,
whoa, buddy!
Look at
buddy!
that! Oh, Cozy! Blowing up Tuesday in the 1v1. That's the Jace power spike that we were talking about. Teleport used by Strumpus. Griffin on the retreat now. He's got backup from the rest of his team, but Strumpus is chasing him down. Strumpus is really fast on this Azir. He does not want Griffin to escape. He wants this kill, willing to flash for it, but not finding Diana. And off screen, Rhino kills Cozy again? Are you kidding me? Alorum now could be in trouble. Bard portal over. Seraphine ult misses, completely whiffs. Rovex looking to continue to play, but now Raheen's here. Now they have the Aphelios to help back up the retreat, and that means Supernova, they have to back away. They committed a lot of summoner spells in time to try and continue that play, and they don't find more than Tuesday.
That's crazy. The only reason why Tuesday died was because he committed his dash at the very beginning, and now Rhino goes back in?
Okay, nope, they don't commit. They only hit one member, and Strumpus, that's still Azir. He's got mobility for as soon as that stasis comes up, he's fine.
Yeah, they also didn't have Griffin there. Griffin was off farming wolves, right? He's trying to make sure he can get his next power spike before the next dragon spawns, because it is going to be Infernal Soul, and this is going to be the time where Supernova have to be strong enough to actually contest this dragon. If they give this over, it's too much of a power spike to be giving to Zeus. If they can find the 80 carry before they back, it will be helpful.
Ooh, Maddie, I think you actually could have just popped Ragnarok and chased down Raheen right there. That is not the caster Aphelios where you go for the Gale Force plus the Collector. He's going the traditional crit build, which makes it easier to get on top of him, but they don't go for it. There will be resets. Look at this damage from Cozy.
Yeah, it's one of the things where, like, you, as Lucian, you dare Jace to come in, and unfortunately, Griffin was a little bit too far for Tuesday, and ultimately, I'm more curious in how Rhino gets the kill. Because we saw Strumpus chase down and wasn't really able to do anything, as it looks like we are jumping back to live as our producers say, hey, something more interesting is about to happen.
20 seconds till the dragon, and Zeus are posturing for the fight. They're positioning very aggressively right now. They have the Bard ult to start things off. They also have Griffin on Diana with that Moodfall. You got to respect it if you're Supernova. I'm happy that they are. They have a front to back, Azir range, Seraphine range, Jace range with Braum and Olaf standing in front of you, and they're going to try and position for it. And look at where Aphelios is. He doesn't actually have his front line in front of him, but they find Strumpus. Strumpus very far forward. No one's on the Azir. He has Emperor's Divide. Meanwhile, Maddie goes down. Cozy as well. And Zeus Gaming with this gold lead with superior team fight positioning will slaughter Supernova in the team fight.
Strumpus only gets one. He chooses to go after the Aphelios all on his own, and because the Azir damage is missing from the rest of the fight, there's not enough DPS to kill anybody else on the team, and it means that all these objectives are going to be going over at the same time. They pick up their Infernal Soul with Diana, and then he can run over to the Baron. Supernova suddenly give up everything because of such a small decision being made. Watch what Azir does during this entire fight, where he chooses to hit his targets, because we know that Azir is the bulk of this team's damage. He's their AD carry. He is going to be the one that you have to be doing everything for, and he decides, I don't have a way to do damage to everybody else. I have to kill Aphelios, but that just means that the rest of the team is playing without any DPS, and they just fall because they can't kill any members of the opposing team.
And when you group up like this with the Seraphine Braum composition, Bard ult can really mess with you in these team fights. We saw what that engage was able to do, setting up Griffin for the follow-up there. And the position for Supernova, they weren't fully front to back. Strumpus, we saw where he was positioned. He started getting hit by Aphelios, and Lucian has to go golden at the start of the fight. That's no DPS. And then, like you said, he has to all in onto Raheen, so even less DPS. Let's see if they can get a better fight next time, because now they're 12,000 gold behind. Zeus Gaming, the Toilet Paper Cats, with a dominant lead right now at 28 minutes, 35 seconds into the game. They got the Baron. Let's see if they can end.
I think they're in a very dominant position to do so. The only question will be, are they going to make any mistakes where they just like challenge Jace to a 1v1 off on the side? They might win it at this point, to be entirely honest, as long as they don't use all their mobility. But Alorum untouched here in the top side of the map, while the rest of his team just applies Baron relatively easily. Alorum should get this entire turret before Supernova can respond, and he does.
There we go, turret down. Also, I just want to mention, Rhino went for Cosmic Drive as his second item here, as we see a lot of damage coming through here. We zoom out because there's action top, hidden inhib, and middle inhibitor turret. And top inhib falls. Zeus Gaming picked that one up. Supernova, they have yet to mount their defense. They're trying to clear out the waves right now. But yeah, this Bard 3-1 right now, actually doing a lot of damage, especially with the Infernal Dragon. I've never seen this Bard build before, but I kind of like it.
I've seen it a couple times, right? You just do it for the extra movement speed, allows you to move around the map quickly, as well as just have a ton of CDR to play with. And now they're doing some damage to the structure. That is going to be going down slowly, and Tuesday off on the side. This might be Supernova's chance.
They could go for the 5v4 right now, but it's into Urgot, that's into Bard. Yeah, they can't find the chase. Griffin onto the back line. Zeus actually want to go for the fight as now Tuesday joins in, but he gets hit by Strumpus. Tuesday's out of the fight. He's dead, but a double kill over to Alorum. Zeus still winning it. They even take down Rovex at the end. Two members of Supernova will be defending against the final push of Zeus Gaming. They took down Tuesday, but I don't think he was the primary threat, everybody. Alorum looking big on the Urgot. First Nexus turret will fall. Strumpus and Cozy, can you make it happen? You got to go for the miracle play right here, right now. Nexus focus is half health. It's going down. Strumpus jumps in. He assassinates Rahid, but he will fall in response, and that is going to be game one over to Zeus.
Rhino kills Cozy for a third time this game as Bard versus Jace at the very end of the game. That must feel really rough for Cozy at that point, because it is every single time he's trying to go for something, the Bard just swoops in and takes him down. But there was a really clean, really dominant game for the most part coming out from Zeus. Almost every single time a fight came out, they were the ones who came out on top and also picked up the objective afterwards.
Exactly. That's the same thing that we've seen pretty much all week so far. If both teams are willing to scrap it out and fight, the team that's winning the games is the one that gets that step after the fight. Just the gold from the kills isn't going to be enough. You need to get a turret, you need to get dragons and stack those up. And we saw that happen perfectly in that game from Zeus as we start taking a look at some of the replays to see how exactly the game played out here. I'm feeling really good about Zeus' gameplay. The beginning, I think they could have been a little cleaner earlier on, but they closed it out strong.
They really did, and I really want to highlight two players in particular throughout these replays. Bard being played by Rhino, and Diana being played by Griffin. As we get to this first one, we highlighted how well Bard played earlier, so I'm not going to just talk about the mechanics in which he did it before, but also just kind of talk about how they were constantly looking for these plays throughout the game. Rhino, even if he was a little bit over-aggressive with these ultimates, was always looking for opportunities to lock down people with his ultimate. He understood he's the primary engage for his team. He was able to find a lot of angles and lock down people with this ultimate, and because of it, he looked good more often than he did.
Exactly, and on a pick that we haven't seen too much of in the current meta. Bard's one of those picks where it's like, it almost feels like he's never not meta. Like, you will find games... He's always playable. Yeah, you'll find games in almost any meta where it's like, it's the right draft for Bard. We could actually put him in here. But the problem is he's not the easiest champ to pilot. I mean, laning phase is not the worst, but hitting those ultimates and using them correctly, you can actually lose your team the game. So he's one of those champs that's like, rare that you get to play him, and he's kind of hard to play, so is it worth investing time into him? But when you see performances like that, you're like, yeah, that Bard was active. That Bard was making things happen. Really cool to see from Rhino, a support that you had highlighted going into the day, Joshi, saying this is one of the supports in Amateur that we really need to keep our eyes on. Let's take a look at what happened a little bit later on into the game, because there was that fight around the red buff where it felt like it could go either way. The Bard dive didn't quite work out that time.
It really was a fascinating opportunity to see, again, both of these teams fighting the way that they wanted to, if I'm remembering the right fight that we're going to be going into, because just seeing the way that both teams were able to find these different plays, I had an opportunity to see what it was to actually move around the map and try and find their own advantages. It'll make it a lot cleaner overall when both teams are able to play directly to their play styles. So, you know, when we do get the replay coming up on screen, I'm going to have an opportunity to kind of look at how these compositions work. But until we get that, I do want to address one of your points about the Bard. The Bard pick is interesting, right? Because you do have, as you said, you can almost always kind of play Bard. But recently, with all the engaged supports being super meta, it's really difficult and dangerous to leave your AD carry alone these days. And that's kind of why we've been seeing him a little bit less.
But the thing is, when you're against the Seraphine Braum, you can leave him alone in that lane, especially pre-level 6, because there's not really much that he can do to get on top of the Aphelios. And I'm just going to say it, we saw the draft order at the very beginning where that Aphelios was locked in earlier on, before they'd even seen the Braum pick. They just saw the Seraphine. So maybe they just predicted it was Seraphine being played bot lane. Maybe they knew Supernova's playstyle. Were like, yep, that we can play a free Aphelios lane here. But the issue is that if you draft the Braum with the Seraphine, you are giving that Aphelios the free lane. I think that was an opportunity where Supernova, maybe they could have tried to get a little more aggressive and shut the Aphelios down.
Yeah, it's an interesting spot, where, as you said, where having different opportunities to to draft different champions at different times, right? The Lucian and the Aphelios back-to-back was a bit surprising to me, especially because there are lots of champions that can be played that can shut down these double marksmen. Gwen was already taken off the table at the very beginning, so we're not super worried about that, but it sounds like we're finally ready to go into some of these replays, and again, highlight the ways in which, both Bard and Diana were played by Rhino and Griffin, respectively.
Yeah, we do have the replay ready now, so let's take a look at it, because, again, this was around the 15-minute mark for this play here. It all started with the Rhino just roaming around.
Stormpest roams up to the top side. They go for the dive here. He misses that, a little bit of a Azir thing. But after seeing, like this failed dive come through, Rhino was looking good more often than he wasn't. But this was one of the few times where we got to go kind of like, I don't know if that one was really it. But this is the fight where we were talking about. It's like both these teams have very obvious strengths in their drafts, regardless of how they end up getting there. And as long as you can play towards your strengths in a team fight, it will typically come out ahead, because nobody can hit Stormpest for a lot of this fight. He's able to just get DPS down. But once you finally have a way to access him, once Griffin realizes that Stormpest is now overextended, you have the freedom to turn around, get onto the backline, and suddenly Griffin, with the awareness that he doesn't need to leave the fight entirely, that he can stick around for a little while longer, means that he has the freedom to get another big fight. And then, yeah.
I was going to say, the crazy part is that that's the type of choke point that Supernova's comp wants to fight him. It's Azir all the way back here hitting you, Braum standing in front, Seraphine throwing out that ult. If that Seraphine had literally been like 2 degrees to the left, just 2, that would have hit every single person from Zeus, and that's probably a very different fight at that point. So that was a big moment where Supernova had an opportunity to just destroy a team fight, but like you said, Griffin was able to get it. But let's take a look at the last replay from that game right here and get a look at how things actually closed out.
And it really comes down to, again, paying attention to Griffin and Bard, right? The two different engaged champions on the team. You notice that Bard doesn't have the ultimate anymore. He tried to use it previously, but because we're on an Infernal map, we're going to have an opportunity for Griffin to get directly into the backline and destroy multiple members. And again, once you start blowing up the Azir or the Azir support system, it becomes very easy for the rest of the fight to just barrel through with your big Urgot, with all of the extra stats that you have in the Aphelios that nobody was really ever able to deal with. And just seeing the difference come through, because you don't need to kill the Azir necessarily, you just need to kill everybody that's protecting the Azir, and then he's kind of stuck on his own, and we see the game end shortly after.
And I mean, credit to Stormpest, credit to Cozy for going for this play. They got 2, but they just did not quite have enough to close it out right there. And I mean, props to Zeus as well. Alorm had a fantastic game on that Urgot. Griffin's Diana, clean engages overall. Honestly, Tuesday and Raheen for playing the Lucian and the Aphelios, they weren't the primary threats in that game. They still were doing damage, but the primary carry was, of course, Alorm in the top lane, and then the Bard, the Diana, setting up plays for him. So, hey, still good look for Zeus. They were able to clean out a victory. It's a little bit longer than we saw in the earlier games today, but still, a win is a win. We're going to send it over to a short break right here while we get ready for game number 2 between these two powerhouses, Supernova and Zeus Gaming. A rematch coming up right after this. Hello and welcome back, everybody, as we're getting ready for our second game for our second series of the day. We got Supernova taking on Zeus Gaming yet again. Zeus with a pretty strong performance in game number 1, taking down Supernova. But before we get into the discussion about game 2 coming up here, Joshi, let's catch everybody up on what's going on elsewhere in the tournament, because we got some crazy things happening in some of these groups.
Oh yeah, I can't wait to get through it. We're going to start at the top, right? I think we're going to go to Group A first, where we do have already confirmation, like we saw Wildcard Gaming play earlier, up against Conviction. And again, just to remind everybody, due to the situation where we now only have 3 teams, we do know that both Wildcard Red and Evil Geniuses Prodigies will be going through to the playoffs from Group A. The only question is, which one is going to be first seed?
Exactly, and they get to match each other as well later on. That's the final game to be played. And also Conviction, they've made it to Proving Grounds qualifiers by earning 20 points here, getting 3rd place. But let's move on to Group B here, Joshi, because this one's exciting. TSM Amateur. They took down Resolve 2-1. They are making it out of the group for the first time. They've been trying so hard. They've gotten 3rd place twice, and now they're finally getting there.
Yeah, well, let's not be too hasty. There might still be some weird tiebreaker stuff going on, right? OQ and TSM are still playing tomorrow, as are Cloud9 and Resolve. And if Cloud9 win and OQ win, suddenly we have a 3-way tie for first.
True, it is always potential, but I want it to happen so bad,
want
man. I want to see it. They were my dark horses. This is my narrative. It's going.
Let's go.
Let's go. But then another exciting one here, the fact that 100 Thieves Next also picking up another win, this one against Maryville.
They've already taken down the 2 toughest opponents in the group. They're looking to cruise through at this point and likely take down Glaive Esports Prime coming up very soon, whereas AoE versus Maryville are going to be playing for their playoff lives, right? Because they're both 1-1 and they have to play each other next. One of them is going to be getting 2 wins. The other one is not. And so whichever one wins that matchup will be getting out of the group. And this is a situation where both of them could have very easily made it out first, depending on how some of the previous games had gone.
Exactly. But the fact that 100 Thieves Next were able to clinch those 2 wins against the 2 toughest teams in the group of death truly is the group of death right there, and they're making a run for it. Again, having pretty much everybody from their roster getting shuffled up into LCS, into Academy, and every single season having to restructure. It's impressive that 100 Thieves as a program is still able to field such an incredible and competitive amateur roster here, getting better and better. So that's what's happening elsewhere around the tournament so far. So now let's get back into the games at hand, Joshi. We got Supernova versus Zeus Gaming, round 2. So, real quick, give me the TLDR of what happened in game number 1 in favor of Zeus. How are they able to win that game? And then talk about Supernova's side, what they need to do different this time around.
I mean, we got to see, as we already identified, both Griffin and Rhino had a great game, setting up a lot of plays and being these big playmakers for Zeus. And they were really able to prey on the fact that the Seraphine Braum bot lane doesn't necessarily do a whole lot early in the game. They really have to get some time underneath their belts, get some items, and get the levels necessary to be relevant later on. And Zeus didn't really let them have that time. So just continuously pushing the speed of the game allowed them to have these opportunities to be very aggressive.
Yeah, and we saw Supernova go for a more scaling composition, not quite able to get to that point where they had this giant team fight threat because of what Zeus was able to do with their own composition. But now Supernova are on the blue side. Zeus Gaming will be on the red, so that will already change things up here. But again, we'll be catching up as they've already gone through the draft in Pro Draft. There we go.
Yeah,
I was like, Pro Guides, Pro Build. Nope, Pro Draft. There we go. There's too many pro companies involved in League of Legends. But Pro Draft was already completed. So now we'll see what they drafted in order, but then still give our thoughts on it. Supernova, they were able to get the Gwen.
And we do have to note that the draft is a little bit different, noting that Robex will be substituting out and another player will be coming in his place. But we are seeing the Trundle come out right now for Zeus, going to Alarm. This is something we've seen him play a couple of different times. And hey, that's interesting. You don't tend to see the Nocturne come through very often in the jungle these days. He's been rather exclusively a solo laner, so I'm excited to see if Supernova will be able to use the tempo advantages he builds for the team and really make plays across the map.
But the big thing you mentioned earlier on in the show, Joshi, when we were talking about the changes on this patch, he still works in the jungle. He wasn't changed there. It was just the laning that got hit. 50% reduced healing.
Yep.
So that means that the jungle Nocturne's still going to be about the same power. Stride Breaker was also nerfed, though, so this isn't going to be that crazy, like, 56% win rate or whatever it was up to Nocturne in the jungle role. But still, can build that item, can do well. But Zeus Gaming, interesting drafting for them. I want to talk about two important picks here. One, obviously, the Trundle in the top lane. We might see a Hull Breaker, who knows? But then also the Yone in the mid lane on Tuesday.
It will be interesting to see how Tuesday plays around, because it's not quite the Diana Yasuo that we saw yesterday, right? You don't have the same kind of combo, but you do lock people down, and if you hit one of these ultimates, it makes the other one very easy to follow up on, because it puts everybody just in a small spot where the AoE is very strong, and it's also easy to combo with the Galio. So I like what Zeus have done so far with their Diana, Yone, Galio core, and there's a big question coming out for Supernova on how Strumpus in particular is going to be surviving this, because he is one of the major damage sources for this team. He's always known as a backliner, and once the Azir isn't on the table, you typically tend to see him looking at Cassiopeia as his next bet.
Yeah, good luck also surviving against Yone. Once Yone is able to hit that 2-item power spike, he can blow you up. Even just one item, he can honestly start doing that one. Supernova, again, more late game scaling options here with the Cassiopeia, the Gwen, and then even the Ezreal plus the Lulu. So they'll want the game to go slightly later. Zeus Gaming, meanwhile, they got a lot of tools to speed the game up here. Joshi, this could be it. You already completely cursed us, because during the break you said, guys, I think this is going to be another 2-0, so clearly this is going to 3 games. We'll see if you're giving Supernova the buff that they need, or if we will have a fast game with Zeus Gaming clutching it out right here. We're going to send it to a short break before we're back for Game 2 of our second series right after this. And we are back, everybody, loaded on to Summoner's Rift for what could be the final game of the day. We got 6 yesterday. We're on track for 4 right now, Joshi, as Zeus Gaming are up against Supernova right now on Summoner's Rift. Supernova find themselves on the blue side, Zeus Gaming on the red. And after that last game, you gotta think Zeus, they could clutch this one out.
It'll be an interesting position for Zeus if they continue to win this series. They're already up 1 game, but we've seen crazier things happen in terms of reverse sweep. So Rhino already coming through. He sees people here and likely going to be backing away. Does just that. I should know there's a ward there, but they didn't do anything with that. So they are going to be able to back away here. Alorm chased around, and one of the interesting things that I do want to highlight is the fact that we do see the Spectral Sickle coming out on the Lulu. It gives AD instead of AP, right? So you get a little bit more physical damage, and you're relying more on your auto attacks to get harassed down up against Rhino's Galio. So could be an interesting opportunity for them to get more gold.
Strange. I guess your auto attacks will do a little bit more, but even then, your passive helps scale with that AP. So I don't think that mathematically this is correct. I'm just going to say it.
Maybe. It's hard to say, right? Because I feel like it's pretty
Yeah.
close because neither of them provide that much value in terms of just like damage output. But later on...
But then... Yeah, later on, the extra AP
now.
is going to help with your E scaling, your W scaling, like all of your scaling will benefit a little more from the Spell Thief's Edge. So, I don't know. Who knows? We'll see.
Power
I have
now,
been
power
abusing
later.
a lot of Lulu, but I haven't done the math, so
Yeah.
who knows. But either way, we will see Supernova starting with that. Maddie not getting a leash on the top half of the map here as the Nocturne early on.
Whoa!
Actually, the same here for Griffin, but early on, Rhino flashing onto Lulu here. Doesn't get the kill, but gets Flash and Ignite out of Lulu all the same.
Wow, that was bold coming in from Rhino. Just saying, hey, we want to get this Lulu's Flash gone so we can actually prey on it later. We don't want to sit here and take poke. Let's just fight now. But the other thing I do want to highlight, as you said, Kingus, we already got the Nocturne without a leash, and because they started with 2 single target camps in the Gromp and the blue buff, they're going to be a little bit further behind in some ways because they aren't going to be getting the same kind of AoE damage value off of the passive as well as the extra healing that you get from a lot of these other things. And you see that he's already had to use one of his potions, whereas Griffin is still chilling with both.
Absolutely. Healthier on the clear, faster on the clear. Is spotted on the Raptors as there was a ward there. He even sweeps it and clears that out, so just gets a little bit more gold and CS for that. As now, there we go. That's the Nocturne clear on the Raptors, one of the fastest that you can get. So he's catching up slightly to Griffin in that clear, but oh boy, Strompist Tuesday trading against each other in the mid lane. That was the matchup that we highlighted when we were in Pick and Ban, but another matchup we haven't talked too much about yet, Joshi, is actually the top side of the map. So talk me through Alorm on the Trundle, kind of what the goal of this in the top lane is meant to be.
Typically, the Trundle, right, has had a couple of different iterations of being played in the top lane. Sometimes you'll play it up against these really big tanks just because you steal all of their resistances, and a solo tank composition suddenly becomes a zero tank composition. But Supernova don't really have any tanks at this point, so it really is just an opportunity to play a champion that Alorm likes the matchup for, going up against Cozy Shroud. He has to come on in, and Alorm can take away a lot of the AD, which is where a lot of Gwen's damage comes from early on in the game, with the Chomp, and then later on, we'll just be able to take away resistances from Nocturne, so it becomes very difficult for Maddie to do his job as a frontliner.
Makes it even harder there. Let's see what the Trundle can do. I'm holding out, man, that whole breaker. I haven't gotten to cast it yet, but I keep hearing Trundle's the one that can build it. Maybe they'll go for it here as Rhino takes a big chunk of damage bot side. Has to jump away right there, and you remember he flashed in, he used Ignite, and Lulu had to flash away as well, but now with no flashes, Lulu does still have that range advantage.
Exactly. That's the big thing that we were looking at before, right? The power now versus power later. Lulu does have the powerful auto attacks and is a ranged champion compared to the melee champion that Rhino's Galio is. And so it is easier for Lulu to just get harassed damage down than it is for Galio to do anything about it. But the rest of the map is just kind of chilling in kind of this relative stasis, and it does mean that, one, Strompist and Lynx are building up small CS advantages over their lanes, whereas Alorm is currently beating Cozy.
currently hanging out, pushing into the top side. Has to worry potentially as Maddie is up there, but even as I say that goes for the reset. Shoving in the wave, trying to put Cozy behind, who also took the Ignite on the Gwen, but really hasn't found much use in that. Wondering if that'll come into play later on. The big thing is tracking Maddie's levels. He's still level 4 right now, so he is behind Griffin and also losing these Raptors. This is going to make it even harder for Nocturne to hit level 6 now, and that's really the big power spike for him.
The worst part now is that Maddie's going to go into the bottom side of the map, realize he's got no camps to do, and Griffin is beating him. Wow, Tuesday is going very aggressive, but Griffin is beating him to the punch because he took the bottom side of Supernova. Now he gets to go over to his own top side, and it leaves Maddie with very few options. He can go for a gank bottom lane without being level 6, or he can just try and hit the dragon, and that's about it.
I guess he's going for the bot side play. Lulu positioning forward here. Rhino, level 3, does not know that Maddie's here. Oh no, he's walking forward. There we go. Maddie's actually going to pull it off successfully. Body blocks the Justice Punch. And first blood to Maddie.
That's one of those things that you gotta look at some of our really proficient teams. They know that Nocturne is going to go into the bottom side of the map and recognize, hey, I have nothing to do here. I have 2 options, right? That's something that Zeus could know, but something that they didn't necessarily have the foresight to actually tell people. And it is going to be giving a first blood over to Supernova. It's not the end of the world, but it does mean that Maddie's upcoming ultimates will be a little bit more impactful.
Exactly. He gets the Krugs too, still level 5, and now going for the reset. Griffin, meanwhile, gets the top scuttle, checked to see if there are any camps up there. Not going to find any, but he's level 6 with Strumpus. Oh, Strumpus, you got to be careful right now. Rhino's here, doesn't have the flash yet, but there's the Diana trying to engage. The taunt comes through from Rhino. Follow-up damage from Tuesday under the turret and easily picks up the kill onto Strumpus.
Remember what we were saying earlier, King, is you land one of these ults, it's so easy to land the follow-up. Griffin goes first, Tuesday follows it up, and we're going to get to see this bottom lane again. And there's not a lot, like, mechanically fancy here. This really is just an information gap. Rhino wasn't expecting Nocturne to be down here just quite yet, but it was a situation where because they knew the camps were gone, they could have predicted that, and it does mean that Rhino goes down because he doesn't have the information on where Nocturne can be.
It's actually cool, that ward right there. They were able to see Strumpus sticking around, make the decision to go for this play. And well executed as well. Yeah. Nicely done here by the side of Zeus Gaming. They gave up that first blood, but getting a kill onto Yone, that will really help him out in this mid matchup.
You're already seeing him reduce a lot of the CS differential that he was losing out on previously. So having that first kill will allow him to accelerate, and as you've already talked about, those 2 items on Yone are going to be much faster than they would be otherwise. We are also seeing Tuesday, this is the 2nd or 3rd time we've seen him do this, where he just freezes the wave fairly far back and forces Strumpus to come up without flash, and that just means that Diana ganks and Galio ganks are a lot more impactful. Tuesday goes in, watch where Nocturne is.
He's right in the mid lane, spotted out too, so Tuesday now knows that Maddie is nearby. Did they see Cozy though? He drops a ward down around the Raptors, so they might not know that Cozy is right here, but Griffin's not going to go for any kind of crazy plays regardless. Now bot side, as the taunt land, Rhino's taking a lot of damage. That's Ignite down. Lulu's doing some work here as Lynx goes forward. No kills happen yet, and that's a lot of damage here. Raheen doing what he can, misses the hail of arrows, and now Maddie's bot side, level 6 on the Nocturne. This is rough news for Rhino, has to flash away, but now it's Raheen. He does take down Lulu. Can he get Lynx? One more auto. The minion's not going to be enough. Lynx does survive. Maddie picks up the kill.
That really should have been 2 kills coming out from Supernova, but they're only able to get 1, and it's traded back for the Lulu. We're seeing some pretty strong heads-up play coming out from Raheen and Rhino as they are able to get away. Rhino knows as soon as the Nocturne's on screen, he needs to flash, try and dodge the Q, not the last bit of damage, but now we're also seeing the game relatively even and a trade coming between these 2 teams. One team opting for the Rift Herald, going to get some gold now, and the other team getting a little bit of pressure on the bottom side, but not actually fully capitalizing to pick up the dragon.
Man, Griffin is so far ahead. Okay, he's just gonna back on the control
ward.
Sure, okay. Cool. I don't even, he didn't ping it either, so let's see if he even noticed that was there. But Griffin is getting work done elsewhere on the map while the Nocturne's going for ganks. Maddie's been more focused on the lanes. Griffin's been more focused on himself. And let's see who benefits from that as we look at the replay.
This is pretty exciting, right? Because you do see the difference in these two teams' ability to actually play, right? Varus is rather untouched because he's a ranged champion, but he's just able to put out enough damage from here, right? It's very difficult for either of Lynx or Cat to walk up, and Maddie should have been able to get that kill solo, but trying to speed it up a little bit ends up sacrificing a life.
And man, that was so close because Lulu was able to dodge a hail of arrows, also dodge the winds of war from Rhino. If either of those had landed, would have died much faster. And then that's a different looking play. So these small margins of error make it a 1-for-1 trade at the end of the day. But Dragon is picked up here by Zeus Gaming. So the Paper Cats get the objectives. They also have that Rift Herald in the back of Griffin's pocket. Again, just a reminder, if you're just joining us, my Dream Academy is Griffin. ASDGDFGQ is Raheen, Dobie Dinks is Lynx, and then of course everyone else corrects names across the board.
Yeah,
so
pretty easy
we do
to
have
follow when they pick the right things.
Pretty easy to follow. I appreciate that when their name in game is actually in line with their name that they give us on the roster sheet. But we do have a pause happening in game right there, Joshi. So while we're sorting that out, let's talk about the current game state. Who are you favoring right now for where we are currently?
Man, I'm currently liking Zeus. They have the agency in the game for a little while longer, right? They have the Rift Herald, they have the first dragon. They are on track to start being able to force decisions from the other team. Just by threatening to take the upcoming dragon, just by using the Rift Herald to get some gold, they're going to be able to build a small lead here rather soon unless something goes disastrously wrong. So I like Zeus from this position, but it's not a massive lead. I'd say at most like a 60-40, just in terms of like the raw game state. And if you add nameplates to that, then maybe a little bit better.
Yeah, that's the thing. I think Tuesday got that kill, and the Yone getting online really strong for Zeus prospects overall. I'm hearing from production that we had to have a computer reset from one of the players, so that's what we're sorting out right now. Thankfully, shouldn't be too long of a pause. So let's talk about what's happening in the top lane, because we haven't seen a lot of action between Trundle and the Gwen, but now that Griffin picked up that Rift Herald, we know how fast Trundle can take turrets, so I'm starting to think that we will eventually see that top turret crack. And how are you rating the performance up there so far?
I mean, I don't know if you've been paying attention, but the reason why I went like right before we went into the pause was because I finally looked towards the top lane and saw that Alorum was up 30 CS over on Cozy already, right? This is a situation where Gwen is actually really strong for the first couple of levels, just based on your ability to have enhanced autos and increased attack speed every time you press E and get that little dash. But Alorum, now that he's gotten past that early couple of levels, is going to be very strong on this Trundle. He has a lot of natural sustain built into his kit just standing in the lane, and it is a situation where he will pretty much always be useful throughout all these fights just because of how basic and how direct his kit is. So far, Alorum's doing a fantastic job.
And also, if the Gwen tries to jump in onto the Trundle, she's got her little circle, but Trundle's circle's like this big, so you know it's just more impressive overall. Exciting to see. Alorum has been historically winning top lanes, kind of smashing top lanes throughout amateur, so this doesn't surprise us too much because this is now 2 games in a row that he's gotten the better of Cozy. And it's just kind of what you have to deal with when you go up against Zeus, is the fact that you're very unlikely to win on that top side of the map, so you got to index elsewhere. How do we feel about Supernova's indexing towards other lanes so far? Strampus still can't scale. Lynx doing all right himself. Is this going to be enough?
Ezreal's going to be very strong here coming up relatively soon, right? Because he is going to have an opportunity to get to those 2 item spikes and really have an opportunity to get damage from really far away. The question is, once again, we're kind of seeing a similar story from Game 1 versus Game 2. Supernova has this very strong backline between Lynx and Strongpest, but there's a lot of access to the backline that both Tuesday, Griffin, and Rhino are providing. So if they can disrupt the backline, Zeus are in a very heavily favored position.
Let's see if they can do it. Oh, wow. Okay. Ultimate used by Strompish right there. But look at this. Griffin's here right as you say it, Joshi. The combo comes through. Maddie jumps in, but I don't think he realized what he was jumping into. Locks down. Rhino's taking up turret. Maddie's still alive. And now look at Lynx. He jumps in. Oh, he misses the Q. Rhino's still alive, but the True Shot Barrage will get him. Tuesday still on retreat. Lulu and Ezreal chasing them down. Ezreal can Arcane Shift over this wall, but not going to look for it. Still, trade of kills there. Support for mid laner.
ultimately, Strumpus missing out on all this farm experience is going to be a bit more impactful. Yes, the kill went over to Lynx, who we already said will have an opportunity to be a bit stronger soon, but Maddie currently getting a little bit stronger as he does have the Nocturne. He's currently got 2 kills now. They should have an opportunity to be aggressive with some of these dives relatively soon. But we also get to see another big opportunity to use the Diana Yone. And if we can continue to see this kind of aggression coming out from them, it is going to be very successful in a lot of these team fights.
Interesting that Griffin backed off right there as Rhino was locking down Maddie. It seems like maybe a little bit of miscommunication between the jungler and support. They could have killed Maddie if Griffin had stayed on, but now Maddie's bot side. Raheen doesn't have summoner spells. He's going to get locked down. The fear, the CC. Maddie does damage. Topside Alorm gets a 1v1 against Shroud somehow, but Maddie will kill Raheen in the bottom lane, so it's a trade of kills on top and bot.
But they're both solo kills. Rhino should be able to walk out from this one. Gets a lot of damage reduction Tuesday.
Oh, this is a lot. Wait, Stromp is actually doing an insane amount of damage right now. The poison, the tick, the dot. Is it going to be enough? Rhino's still alive. Stromp is still under the turret. Hits Tuesday. Does not get the dot on him. And Lulu keeping Strumpus alive.
Yeah, really impressive stuff coming out from Strumpus this far, but as the Riftchild does crash, it is going to be another situation where Zoos are getting a little bit more. Yes, plates go over to the side of Supernova, but it's not as much as a full turn. Now we're going to see how this 1v1 happens, and hey, big surprise everybody, you are in fact playing Trundle versus Trundle versus the Gwen. It's all about just like understanding how much damage you do at a given time, and you see the insane damage that comes with the Sheen proc plus the Chomp all at once from Trundle, just taking all of the HP away from Cozy Shroud all at once.
And now Alorum, mythic item completed. Divine Sunderer even has the Executioners. That 1v1 is only going to get worse for Cozy Shroud now. Turret's down, but Alorum staying top side. Rhino and Raheen staying on the bottom side as well here. Gotta watch out though, Maddie does have ultimate, so if they don't play safe under the turret, they could be susceptible to a dive. And as I say that, Lulu is roaming around the map, trying to get some wards down for the side of Supernova. Currently, it's a 2k gold lead over to Zeus, and they also have that early dragon that they picked up. Next one in a minute and a half.
Kind of at that spot. Oh, Tuesday not going to go for it. We're kind of at that spot where it's a little bit early, potentially, for Trundle to go for it. They just go mid.
Mid again. Okay. Stromp is dead.
Okay, well, that's helpful, right? I was just about to say, like, Trundle doesn't have the best tools to start moving around the map, but wait, did he actually get that kill?
I think he got that kill with the pillar. Doesn't it do 1 true damage, technically? Because it's meant to stop backs.
I know it used to. I don't know if that's still true. Either way, he definitely got the kill.
If he got that with 1 true damage, that would be absolutely insane. But Alorum at Tuesday now will take down this mid turret. Maddie very far forward, has to flash away. Disrespecting the fact that Zeus were about to get that turret. Does he look for the re-engage? No, he does not.
Well, we are about to get to the second dragon of the game. It is an Infernal Dragon, which will increase your damage by a certain percentage. And everybody with 40 seconds left will have to decide whether or not they want to back. By the time you hit the 40-second mark is your last chance to back in order to be at the dragon on time. And we're seeing that most of the members are choosing to stay on the field. So we're going to take a look and figure out exactly what it was that Trundle does to pick up this kill. As far as I know, he only used the pillar. Oh, he just walks out. Okay. That makes more sense.
I thought that was some crazy shenanigans going on there, but never mind. That makes a lot more sense.
All right. Well, now we got to start looking at who's at the dragon, what kind of angles they're coming from, and whether or not they have enough gold. Because we are seeing that mythics for Tuesday and Raheen not yet completed. They aren't going to be doing quite as much damage as their opponents who have the Everfrost and the Divine Sunderer already completed. But it doesn't necessarily mean anything because we already see Lulu backing away, gets the teleport, or doesn't have teleport. That means that it does take them 25 seconds to walk from the base to the dragon. And 25 seconds of a 5v4 is too much for Zeus to deal with.
Not going for the dragon, going for the play mid. So trade of objective for kill on to Tuesday. And also, that's shutdown for Strumpus. That's Cassiopeia picking up all of that gold. Rough for Tuesday. If he'd had that shield bow before that, would have felt a lot better. But regardless, that is Zeus now on 2 dragons.
We also have to highlight the fact that because it was Nocturne, Rhino could not respond. Right? The Galio ultimate requires vision. If you cannot see your friend, remember, 8.75 seconds where Rhino cannot yet be there. So that's a pretty big window that Supernova had to blow up Tuesday. So Zeus, they're still ahead, they're still winning, but it isn't necessarily this huge, like, stomping lead that we've seen in a couple of games previously. They do still have to play enough League of Legends to win.
I'm also just noticing right now, Joshi, we spent so much time talking about the Spectral Sickle on Lulu. That's a Spell Thieves on Rhino. I really don't like that either. He's still yet to get that support item completed. 16.5 minutes in, that's abysmal for a support timer. You need that vision. And that's really going to make Zoo's bot vision control struggle here. You want to go for the melee one so you can actually farm it up. You're not going to be able to trade enough against the Lulu with just Winds of War. But now I'm going to hold my breath. Maddie is bot side. He's going to clear these Krugs, and his ult will be up by the end.
All right, Alarm also doing this structure, this objective. Remember, you know, that we had a long conversation a long time ago about whether or not you actually want to take down this turret. Alarm doesn't have great tools to necessarily impact the map on his own. He's not the best diver. He's just a stat ball that can be hard to turn in the right direction. But now he's doing the thing, and we got to teleport.
Supernova going for it. They throw out the Paranoia. They're teleporting down bot side. They put Strompus down there, and they also teleport Cozy in, but they're not going to get onto Zeus. And Alarm's got the Rift Herald, so okay.
All right, now he comes
Supernova not finding the play.
Bonk, 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 bonk. There you go. It's just gone, right? That's all it takes, and that's going to be the Rift Herald and the turret instantly going down for Alarm. So he is having a lot of freedom off on the side, and unfortunately, this is one of the things that Nocturne kind of struggles with, right? He's a great setup tool. He's able to throw his body in, but he's not going to be able to kill people on his own particularly often. He's not necessarily going to get the fight started for everybody else. It's why you often need something like a Galio to follow it up. And Supernova committed a lot for that play and are actually the ones that lost the turret for it.
And the idea behind the Nocturne Paranoia plus then TPing for a play is your opponent can't answer the play, but you also need to make sure that whoever you're trying to make the TP play on top of with the Paranoia, they can't retreat. And Zeus Gaming, they had a clear retreat path. It's just the Nocturne running in, so they get away. And Zeus get a lot for that. That's even more gold onto Alarm here. The Trundle really coming online right now. 2-0-0, up 20 CS. And if we're looking at the gold, up 2,600. That is a sizable gold lead for Alarm.
The only place where they're really losing for Zeus is the bottom lane. You're about 1,000 gold behind Lynx as Raheen, and then Rhino is a little bit behind the Lulu as well. But it's less than a kill at this point. So just generally across the board, Zeus are doing quite well, and Alarm, I believe that's building towards a wit's end, if I'm not mistaken, right? He's got the Hearthbound Axe and the Negatron Cloak already built, so just looking to build for the 1v1 up against Cozy Shroud, and if he can continue winning it, it's a big split push threat that we don't often think of when we think of Trundle.
Exactly, just go for it. Make sure that you win that side lane no matter what. It's not the whole breaker, but it still accomplishes kind of the same thing. Gives you the attack speed, the magic resist, so you get the stats that you want against the Gwen, and faster ability to take towers. As now the rest of Zeus here, they're looking on to Lynx. Arcane shifts over onto the Raptor wall and is out just fine. Now Alarm in the bottom lane, but also Waves pushing topside. Strompus is up there, and he doesn't have TP, but play here from Supernova. They're going in onto Alarm. He flashes away early, has to turret if he can make it to it, but not gonna happen. Maddie gets the shutdown. 4-0-2 on this Nocturne.
This Nocturne is doing really well so far, with the one exception of that ult that they just ran away from. If they can continue finding these upset fights in the outer, or in the side lanes, it's going to be difficult for Alarm to continue pushing. So I really like the fact that they're doing this now to put it in the back of Alarm's mind for the rest of the game. It's like, where is Nocturne? Can I actually be here? Is this an aggressive play I can make, or do I need to stand back a little bit and wait until I see where Nocturne is on the map? But they traded for Tuesday, they just had Trundle down here, and now the Yone is instead going to be the one who's doing a bunch of damage to the structure.
Almost takes that turret, doesn't quite have it as the wave is cold, but he's just buying attention from the Gwen. Pressure bot side, everyone from Supernova's top, save for Cozy, and that means that third dragon goes over to Zeus, uncontested.
Surprising to me that there is actually no priority over the dragon from Supernova at all. I feel like they could fight for it, but now Alarm has to be careful because there are enough members of Supernova here to give him a run for his money. Instead, he's just going to be annoying with pillars.
Make sure that Maddie doesn't get that red buff for free. Has to smite it away there. Bot side, I was seeing Griffin go for a play, but now he's here. Oh, the taunt lands onto Lynx. He has to pop the cleanse. That means that Griffin's on top of him. Lulu ultimate used. Lynx is still alive. Can he reposition well enough for this? Nocturne throws down the Paranoia. They're going in onto the tank, onto Alorm, the frontliner. All this damage being used, but the combo plus Galio absolutely stopping Supernova. But look at Cozy and Strompus. They're still alive. They're still healthy. Cozy now frontline. Strompus with a flash ultimate misses everybody. Doesn't land a single stun. Now the re-engage comes through here. Probably more fun to Tuesday, but he's still alive. Now Rhino going forward.
Come on, so
Griffin
close.
Goes golden here. Not sure if that was the right play, but Tuesday still healing up with these autos. He takes down Lulu. Strompus and Cozy on the retreat as Griffin is hunting. Strompus realizes, I'm not getting out of this one. I might as well trade a kill. Will take down Tuesday and fall in response.
All right, we're seeing glimpses of genius coming out from Zeus, but it's not quite as definitive as we would like it to be, right? You're seeing Tuesday and Rhino, the ones that group up together this time and have a huge combination of their ultimates. Just watch. We've talked about this so many times about how impactful these combining your ultimates can really be. You saw that the Diana actually misses the ultimate, doesn't hit anything with it as Lynx just leaves. And that kind of makes this team fight look a little bit weird. Like, are they going to have enough damage? Are they going to have the combo necessary? And a huge True Shot Barrage just dissuades everybody else from coming in. Alorm just buys time for the combination to come through. And after that, it's just so chaotic. Everybody trying to make individual plays. You don't have very clear lines whatsoever. And ultimately, it's just these small plays that end up coming out in favor of Zeus once again. It's just like watching Wildcard versus Conviction. Just the team that is a little bit more coordinated and a little bit stronger individually is going to be the one that wins this almost every time.
Slightly awkward Zoni is there from Griffin, but doesn't mean the end of the world.
God.
Okay, Alorem!
Bonk?
Yeah, Maddie thought he could do it because it had worked the last couple of times, but he just bait Strompus into a false sense of security, and they will both fall down. Alorem, now that he has Wits End completed, very strong in the side lane.
Very difficult to kill for both Strompus and Cozy, and we'll see if there's going to be any counter punch. We see some good damage on to Raheen.
Lynx, you're insane. He's going very far forward. Chains of Corruption comes out from Raheen here just to keep him and Rhino alive. But meanwhile, the rest of the squad's bot side, they will crash that turret.
Yeah. I love the fact that Zeus are understanding that killing the enemy champions for the gold is good. But the really, really nice thing is it means that they are off the map and can't contest you for any of these objectives. And just having 3 people down here means that they get 2 kills, but they also get the turret. They're a little bit closer to the enemy nexus, and that turret will never respawn like the enemy champions will.
They're a lot a bit closer to the enemy nexus. Supernova had not taken a single turret right now. It's 5 turrets to 0. Supernova not focused on these objectives as now Lulu has to self-ult. Wild Growth not available for the Nocturne combo here. And now Maddie, he goes in with the Paranoia, but they don't find a kill quite yet. Griffin, he dies, but he's a Galio combo. Doesn't hit anybody. Supernova have kited back successfully. Again, Petrifying Gaze misses. Alorm's running away as that comes down, but Supernova have already taken out Griffin. They still have 5 members. True Shot Barrage only hits Raheen. Tuesday dodging out some of that damage, but doesn't find Cozy.
This is what we're seeing over and over again. Remember, Supernova are so much better at playing from range than Zeus are. Zeus really rely on the big combination of their ultimates, and if they can get that, they can win fights really handily, but missing like that. Oh, they find Cozy!
But he stops Cozy's back. He's still going forward. Does he have the time? He does! Tuesday gets the solo kill to end the play.
All right, well, I mean, sometimes you don't even need to hit the ultimate, but you do need to have the ability to get in close in that situation. So, I mean, at this point, Maddie is too far ahead of Strompus, and Alorm just able to turn around and bonk him on the head like a little field mouse, right? Not a whole lot you can do.
And Strompus goes down too. It's rough. And this play lasts for quite a while here, because then it turns into the bot push and then that fight that happens next. But the important part is if we go back to live right now, look at the dragon timer, 12 seconds. Look at Cozy's death timer, 4 seconds. He's going to be spawning, but will not have time to make it to this dragon.
25
so
seconds.
Zeus will have a 5v4.
25 seconds to get there, and it does mean that Supernova are just going to be giving it up. They'd rather flip for the Elder Dragon than for this Cloud Drake. And so Zeus is in a very good position to try and take this because they are going to be so fast. Their ultimates that we said were so key to their ability to team fight are going to be available much more often coming up in the next several minutes. They can just go for team fights a little bit more aggressively than we were seeing them do previously. So Zeus in a very good position right now, 5,000 gold ahead, 5 turrets to 1. And the question will be, how do they want to try and push this advantage? Are they trying to bait the Baron, or do they just try and deny vision and aggressively look for picks?
Recently, it feels like they're just allowing Maddie to engage on them. They're just like, all right, Nocturne will come into us, and then we can kind of kite back and win the fight afterwards. Otherwise, it's Griffin going for the plays. But as of right now, it's Alorem in the bot lane. Push this wave in. Control vision around the Baron, and then maybe look for that.
Oh, Cozy no E.
Alorem's going in. He can win these 1v1s. We've already seen this happen before. Cozy is healing back up a lot, but look at Alorem! Look at this damage! This doesn't even feel fair right now. He's just adrenaline with the pillage, just going bop, 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 getting the solo kill.
Yeah, it's crazy just watching Alorem do this because he just understands his damage, and that's why I called out at the very beginning, Cozy no E. He already used so much of his damage on the minions and his escape, so he doesn't have a lot of opportunities to really try and turn this around. And Alorem, he just keeps the minion alive. He's the one taking the turret, and the rest of Supernova are forced into desperate plays.
They're going for it. Maddie flashing aggressively onto Rhino under the turret. Rhino flashes away. Now look at Griffin. Gets onto Lynx. That is the Lulu ultimate. Oh, Strampus yet again! Missing the petrifying gaze. They will kill Griffin regardless. Look at the base. Trundle bot side. Yone top side. 2 inhibitors are down. Zeus Gaming, they can go for the game. They can look to end right now. Members of Supernova, yeah, you're winning the fight, but I don't think you can even go for the Baron. You have to back and defend.
Wow, absolutely insane. 2 inhibitors go down and no kills picked up for Supernova, and it all started with Cozy Shroud. Yeah,
Lynx is still up.
True.
Let's take a look here. Tuesday's looking for him. There's cleanse, but there's no flash. He's got to get to this wall. Arcane shift over. Oh, Tuesday misses the ultimate. He doesn't have enough damage. He's going to go back in time. No, he does!
You little
Tuesday!
Faith. Okay.
Absolutely shredding Lynx.
Tuesday's on vision. They know where he is. They don't see him right now, but they have an exact idea of what he's up to. We'll see if he can try and get out of this. Maddie ultimate almost back
goes back. He goes back in on the Strampus. He's got so much damage.
Oh, so close. He gets it.
Oh, Tuesday trading his life for Strampus and the Paranoia. So that's a decent sized timer for the ultimate there and a big window for Zeus to play around.
Okay, yeah, Lynx is still dead. Alorem looking to hunt people down. He's a big troll king. We'll see if he can get onto Cat.
All right, good luck here. Lulu's out. Difficult to get on top of, but you just push him away. You just establish vision control. Now you're on the Baron.
Yeah, I don't think there's any contest. Maddie doesn't have the ult, doesn't have the flash. They're nowhere close enough. It would take 25 seconds to get there, and it's just gone. Zoo's playing the map so effectively, and now with the Baron, with the Cloud Soul, they should be able to look to find just about anything. They can pick up the last inhibitor here when Tuesday respawns, or they can just wait for the Elder Dragon to come up and actually end the game that way. The first Elder Dragon we've even seen so far through the Summer Showdown.
Yeah, we haven't seen any taken yet. We have seen a lot of Dragon Souls, but 2.5 minutes. Let's see if it even lasts that long here, Joshi. Because this could be the end. There's supers in the base on the Nexus turrets, and Alorem's right there too. But Supernova, they're defending their mid turret instead. But look at Alorem.
He doesn't care about Maddie.
He's just going to take the turret. He's just literally going to end the game on his own. All 5 members of Supernova have to go for him. They can't even kill him. Look at how fast he is. He presses Subjugate, and then the Cloud Soul, he just runs away. All inhibitors down.
This is crazy. Now they still have the Baron for 2 minutes. They're going to be able to push it in. Oh, Cat!
Tuesday goes for it. There we go. Lulu's dead. Under the turret, double top from Rhino. Cozy. Everybody from Supernova getting blown up by Zeus. The Toilet Paper Cats have done it. They're going to give us a swift 2-0 and a 4-0 for the day. Taking the win over Supernova.
Crazy stuff coming out from Zeus. They looked really good today overall, and it wasn't the same kind of chaotic fights that we were seeing earlier, but this is kind of what's been separating some of the top teams from some of the middle teams, right? Just your ability to do more with your time on the map to take these objectives. You don't need to fight for everything if you just have more people in the right places to actually hit objectives.
Exactly. Playing the map. playing around. I mean, we saw the bottom inhibitor and top inhibitor taken at the exact same time, essentially, from these teams. It was just Zeus having a draft that didn't need to group up as 5. They could just play for the side lanes, and Supernova really not looking comfortable with that.
Cloud9 Amateur played a very similar way yesterday. Unfortunately, TSM had the tools to force them to come to fights, right? TSM was able to force everybody to just come back to the Baron, right? 100 Thieves was doing a very similar thing later on in the day, but we didn't see that from Supernova. They weren't the ones that had the ability to actually hit the Baron effectively. They didn't have a real tank. They didn't have real engage tools, and because of that, you just don't need to fight them. You can just go somewhere else.
Yeah, and the Zeus Gaming also gave us 2 different looks between the 2 games of the series, because the first game, it was more about the team fight. It was more about just going for it when they had the double marksman plus the Urgot and then the Diana to start those fights. But this time around, they're showing us that they can play different size compositions to great effect. That always impresses me as well, especially in the amateur level. So let's take a look at the first replay here, Joshi, that you wanted to highlight, and take a look at how things started off here for Zeus.
This highlights kind of what you were talking about, right, with the different styles that they were looking at. And when we look at the comp initially, this is kind of the style we were expecting. You got the Diana ultimate, you got the Yone ultimate, you got the Galio ultimate, well, not yet in this replay, and you just stack them on top of each other. You land one, you get the crowd control. You land the other, you get more crowd control because they're also grouped on top of each other. And ultimately, it's very, very clean coming out from Tuesday and Griffin. The CLG pair that we saw previously now looking very good now that they're playing on Zeus.
And the fact that Rhino was able to get out of lane, but also survive in that lane against a Lulu, I think also speaks credit to his development as a support. Very strong. Game number 1. Pretty impressive. Game number 2 here. This is, we talked up Zeus. Now, when we compare the 2 games that we saw so far today, Wildcard Red did display a higher level of dominance in their games, but I think that Zeus showed a different kind of dominance in their games. It wasn't just like, hey, we're going to outperform them in every single lane and just stomp them. I mean, Alorm was doing that pretty much the whole time, but it was also more playing around the map, and honestly, kind of looked cleaner in terms of gameplay than what we saw from Wildcard Red. But let's take another look at the next fight here, around the 28-minute that you wanted to highlight.
If it was only the macro difference, it would be one thing, right? But it's not just the macro difference. Here we get to see both versions of what Zeus does better than a lot of other teams. Not only are they playing the macro better, they're making sure that they're going to be getting both of the inhibitors at the same time. Alorum has his freedom to just hit here. Tuesday has the freedom to hit on the other side, so they're already winning this macro game. They're going to be picking up things without necessarily fighting for them. But after all of this is said and done, as we see Griffin spend a lot of time just making sure that Supernova can't back, they're also going to transition into individual play, right? If you only have the macro and can't actually fight, your opponents are just going to ignore your macro and come fight you. But Tuesday is able to show off the other side of that coin. And of course, Alorum does it as well, but it's not as flashy looking because he's playing the Rumble, right? Instead, Tuesday hops over the wall, and you said, oh, he doesn't have the damage, he doesn't have the damage. Ah, but he does.
He does.
And he does the exact same thing as Strumpus here in just a moment.
Shame on me for doubting him. But yeah, again, Strumpus, he's like, guys, I found him. I found the Yone, and then boom.
Boom, got him. Strumpus could have walked away here, but this is the thing that so many people need to be aware of. If your damage isn't needed in the fight, you can leave. You are dismissed.
Yeah. You are dismissed. Also could have flashed a little further away rather than going over the wall. Could have gone back further towards the ground. But I mean, that's neither here nor there. We saw what happened at the end of that play. So let's take a look at what happens at the end of the game here. Just to wrap up the day, Joshi. Zeus Gaming, they find the fight they need against the side of Supernova. And yeah, I mean, from this point forward, I mean, obviously this is the end of the game, but we see just how strong Tuesday was.
Yeah, and they don't even necessarily need to combo their ultimates, right? They end up using all 3 of their big ultimates at different times. Actually, Diana's doesn't even go off, but they're just so far ahead because they have this macro advantage. They are the ones who can decide when to pull the trigger if they want to at all, and so, you know, Zeus, because they've done all the other steps correct up to this point, are the ones who have the advantage. They're the ones who end up finding the 2-0, and hey, I didn't curse it. We had 2 upsets yesterday. Today, we got the expected victors coming out on top, and they're doing it cleanly. So wildly different stuff coming out for the Summer Showdown.
Yesterday, at the end of the day, there was no sunshine outside. I had missed sunset, my favorite time of the day, but this time, 7:15, it's an early day.
Woo!
Joshi, we did it. Quick 4-0. As Wildcard Red were able to give us the fastest series that we've seen so far. And now Zeus Gaming also showing their level of dominance. So congratulations to the winners today. Let's take a look at what's happening around the Rifts, though, Joshi, as we pull up the groups across the board here. We are starting to see some things shake out. Most importantly, Group D, there is still a series happening right now. Digmig are up 1 game over AOE Randoms.
Wow, that's a bit of an upset, right? I knew Digmig has been seeing a lot of growth recently, but I wasn't yet expecting them to be ahead of AOE Randoms. But we do have a number of teams that are already locked for playoffs, right? We have Wildcard Red and EGP from Group A, TSM TSM Amateur in Group B, 100 Thieves next, and Zeus, we all know are going to be in our top 8 at this point, but we still have to see who is going to be joining them. We've got lots of games left to play, both in Group D and from what we're going to be seeing on Monday.
Exactly. Monday is where we'll finish up the rest of the group stage. Also, Group B, important to know, we were tracking how's OQ's chances of making it out going to look. If they lose their next series and Resolve win, they would both be tied down there, but important to note that technically OQ has the head-to-head, so I'd have to take a look at the rulings for tiebreakers if head-to-heads count in this tournament. I'm not sure if you know offhand, Joshi, but we'll keep everybody updated. Yeah, well, we'll look into that in the next Monday. Keep everybody updated on if OQ are officially out or not, but it's looking good for them here, because even if they have to do a tiebreaker against Resolve, hey, they already beat them once, so why not go for the 2-peat? But at the end of the day, Joshi, any surprises? I mean, we did on stream, we didn't have any upsets. No. But across the board, we did have a couple. So what ones are stepping out to you? I mean, the 100 Thieves one is big. The TSM one as well. So, yeah, TSM, what a performance.
Yeah, your Dark Horse is looking a little bit better than mine, right? Unfortunately, mine is no longer in the tournament. So it's definitely a bit of a, a boon that you do get to see TSM having all the success right now, right when it matters towards the end of the Proving Ground circuit, because they still need to make sure they get qualified. They need to make sure they get as good of a seed as they can, because they were looking on the cusp of whether or not we could consider this team more than just a passing fancy coming through during the PGC.
And also, I just want to give a quick note, because I didn't see this before, but the production is letting me know that AOE Esports, they had to forfeit the first game due to a power outage. But then they were able to come back and win 2 in a row against Glaive. So very impressive from them. I mean, being put on the back foot in a best-of-3 series, but still clutching it out, especially under such stressful circumstances. I always feel for teams, for players, when it's something like that, it's like it's completely out of your control. But unfortunately, we are in a tournament, and there are certain rules that we have to abide by. So, but hey, congratulations to them. Congratulations to all the teams that were able to pick up wins today, yesterday. Still moving forward towards that playoff picture here. And thank you, Joshi, for joining me on the desk day. It's been awesome having you on the show.
It's been fun. Thank you.
Yeah, we gotta celebrate your birthday sometime. I wasn't involved in any of the celebrations, so I feel like
I'll come down to LA soon. We'll have a good time. Don't worry about it. Or you can come to Seattle.
True. Hey, I got a sister up there, so who knows? I could visit my family. We see my nephews. See Joshi. Sounds like a fun time. But regardless, that's going to do it for the show today, everybody. Thank you for sticking with us through another day of EGL Summer Showdown. We got the rest of the group stage coming up next Monday. Same place, same time. So make sure that you don't miss it, 3 p.m. PST, so we can figure out who's making it out of groups and who is qualifying for the Scouting Grounds qualifiers. That does it for the show today. So thank you so much from us casters, from the production crew, from all the teams that enjoy your support, and we will see you next week.